Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. If you'd like to support my channel, please check out the link above to my Patreon page. I'm here with a replay of round 3 of a Modern Friendly League with Benthic Biomancer and Deprives in the main deck. I won the die roll again, feeling good. And yeah, this is beautiful. 2 lands and Benthic Biomancer. Something I didn't mention in the deck tech is that Oboro Palace in the Clouds is actually a really cool combo with Ben. You know, you play it early in the game, you make some mana with it, and then later in the game, if you draw Ben, you can play him, bounce Oboro to your hand, activate Ben's ability, and then loot away the extra land and hopefully draw more gas. So I've been really high on playing a lot of basic islands. I actually still have 16 basic islands in the deck. And Oboro just replaced one of the Mutavaults as an extra blue source, but it does happen to be a cool combo with Ben, adding to the synergies. So I kept, of course, the opponent kept open with Island into Ben, and yeah, let's see what the opponent does. I'm going to be able to play an Island and pass the next turn with Trickster up and Adapt up. Okay, Bolt. That's the second time we've seen Benthic Biomancer just eat a Bolt on turn 1. What's going on? I drew another one, but it's not time for you yet, Ben. I've got other things to do. Like Silvergill. Revealing Ben. So Deprive is pretty nice. It gives us even more things to hold up mana for. Farseek. So, yeah. Let's see. We've seen 8-Whack, Amulet Titan, and now another Titan deck. This looks more like traditional Titanshift. That was an interesting lightning bolt out of them on turn 1. So we really wanted to hit a land there. But what we do when we get stuck on 2 lands is just turn up the heat, right? Like we can't win if we don't provide a clock. So let's take this window of opportunity to play a Lord. If they don't have the sweeper, then we're going to have Deprive back up with like 5 power on the board, and hopefully that can get us there. All right, well, here's a Valakut. Opponent's paying 3 mana, and I was like about to have a heart attack because I thought I was getting my board wiped, but no, it's just a Search for Tomorrow. That's not that scary. All right, opponent's down to 4 cards in hand. Well, another Lord, but I think it's time to just leave up this Deprive. Send it back their way, and we see a Summoner's Pact. Now, this is one of my favorite interactions in Modern is Summoner's Pact has a really big drawback for the player who casts it because they have to pay 4 mana the following turn. So you let the Summoner's Pact resolve, they go and get a creature, and then you counter their creature. So talk about blowouts. Here's Primeval Titan, and check out Game 1 Deprive in the main deck. Eat it, Titan. So I did have to bounce one of my lands, but hey, I didn't draw one anyway, so we're in the same spot as we would have been in. I have been keeping a close eye on whether I'd prefer to play Deprive or Wizard's Retort in the main. I'll give you guys a report on that once I've played more matches. Deprive's been doing well, but Wizard's Retort has been looking excellent also, so I think we're just going to continue here. Oh, no. We're absolutely going to play Spreading Seas because Valakut is live as things stand. And even playing a Mountain next turn will just blow up one of our creatures. So we're absolutely going to get that Spreading Seas on the table. Okay, still not drawing lands, but we did take that window that I mentioned earlier to get 5 power on the table. And here we're going to attack, see what the opponent has left in their hand. They do have to pay for the Summoner's Pact, so it doesn't really matter too much what they have in their hand. I guess they could have another land and Anger, but they just scooped at that point. So a pretty tight game. We saw Ben eat a Bolt on turn 1, and then a really, really well-timed Deprive, leaving the opponent having to tap out for no value. Their Primeval Titan is dead over in the graveyard. So yeah, that was a really, really satisfying game 1. That's one of the big benefits of playing hard counters in the main deck is silly decks like this that, you know, it's very, very, very obvious what they're going to do. It's like, turn 2, we're going to ramp. Turn 3, we're going to ramp. Turn 4, here's a Primeval Titan. What are you going to do? And you're like, well, I have this counterspell. And they're like, oh, okay, I lose, you know? So, yes, definitely a matchup that is improved by adding counterspells to the main deck. So satisfying beating this deck. Let's go ahead to game 2 and check out the sideboarding strategy. Okay, back for game 2 here. Let's check out the sideboard. So against Primeval Titan decks, you typically want to take out your Master of Waves because they're really weak to Valakut triggers. Since Valakut is colorless, it doesn't matter that Master of Waves has protection from red. They should give Valakut some errata to say that it's red. It's a little unfair that it's not red. But anyhow, Master of Waves gets killed pretty easily, so he's an easy card to take out since a 4-drop that gets killed by, one of their land drops is pretty terrible. Let's see. Being on the draw, I took out 1 Spreading Seas. It's a little bit slow. And I took out the 2 Harbingers since we don't want to bounce their Primeval Titans. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards out. And then I brought in 2 Tidebinders, which are just fantastic in the matchup. I brought in a second Vendilion Clique, brought in the 2 extra counter spells. And then I brought in 2 Vensers. They can be good, I guess, to counter a Primeval Titan, which prevents them from getting the triggers from it entering the battlefield. So I think that's the 7 cards. Let's count one more time. I brought in 2 Tidebinder Mages, 2 counter spells, 2 Vensers, and a second Vendilion Clique. So really good cards to bring in, and our main deck is already stacked against them right now. Trickster is a really, really amazing addition in this matchup because tapping down the Primeval Titan before it attacks, just keeps them off of all their value. They don't get to punch us in the face for 6, and they don't get to get 2 land drops. So this was a really borderline hand, but the opponent's on the play, and he has to make his decision first. And when he decided to go to 6, I decided to keep this because it does have a pretty clear path to victory. If we draw any other Merfolk, it's going to be easy to get them on the board between all these islands and the AEther Vial. If we draw counter spells, we're going to have mana for them. So, being on the draw, we're going to have an extra card coming our way. So it's borderline, as I said, but if you have to imagine this hand without one of these lands, we would keep 3 lands, AEther Vial, Double Lord at 6 for sure. And we're up a game, so we have a little bit of leeway here. That extra land was pretty terrible. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and play Island AEther Vial. But I forgot to mention, the opponent led on Mountain, which is absurd from Scapeshift. They really want to hit green lands and just ramp. So double Mountain means that their hand is at least as clunky as mine is. So AEther Vial is going to go to 1. Trickster is a body, as I mentioned, can be really, really good in the late game to tap down a Titan for value, but I think I'm probably just going to flash this guy in and start the clock ticking. So here's a Rex Sage. Well, that was pretty well timed on their part before AEther Vial gets up to 2 counters. So definitely going to flash in this Trickster so I can start beating up on this guy a little bit. We really don't want to draw any more lands at this point. Benthic Biomancer would be great so we could loot one of these things away. Counter spells would be great so we have some protection. Mutavault is okay. It's a body. So play Mutavault and play a Lord and just attack for 3. Opponent's going to go down to 15, and they're clearly having land trouble. They haven't played a single ramp spell yet this game, and they only just hit their first green source. Well, there's Socorro Tribe Elder, but I think they're missing their land drop here. That counter spell is right on time. I think the best play here is just to rev up the Mutavault. Just attack with the 2 creatures on the left. We'd really rather not trade a Lord for Reclamation Sage. If we draw another Lord next turn, we can slam a 4th blue source and get our creatures to 4 toughness so that they can't wipe our board with an Anger of the Gods. Odds are, though, we're probably just going to hold up mana for Deprive anyway. Opponent stays at 15 since they had a double sort of chump block situation there. Farseek, well, they're up to 6 lands at this point. We do have a Deprive up if they tried to go for a Primeval Titan next turn. But it looks like they're going for Anger. You have to be careful about how you use your counter spells in this matchup. If you use one on a board wipe that's threatening, say, 2 of your creatures, like in this situation, you may want to keep the Deprive in your hand so that you can prevent them from winning the game. But in this position, I'm at 20 life, they're at 14. When I play this Lord next turn, I'm going to be swinging for 11 points between 4, 4, and 3. Putting him down to 3, it's really hard for this deck to deal effectively with Mutavault. They can't kill it with like Valakut triggers unless they have fetch lands at instant speed. So taking them down to 3 life next turn means I only have to poke in twice with Mutavault or a single time with a Lord. We've got a Lord in hand here if they wipe. So anyhow, I'm going to counter this here. Is long story short, because we've got a really nice attack next turn. So I'm drawing terribly. I think we hit a Trickster and a Deprive this game. That's about it. And I guess the Mutavault counts. So as I was saying, we're going to punch in for 11 here. Opponent's going to go down. Our shields are down here. They're going for Summoner's Pact. Huh. So I guess they would go Titan. But if they go Titan, I'm at 3. They have five mountains. That means they could get Mountain, Valakut, and kill one of the lords, and they're still dead around the edges from all my creatures. So they got a Sakura Tribe Elder instead. So that means they're going for Scapeshift here, but they've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lands. For those of you who don't really know the math on Scapeshift, 7 lands means 1 Valakut and 6 mountains. That's the minimum amount of mountains so that they all see each other and trigger. So that means 6 triggers at 3 damage each is 18 damage. It's not enough to kill me. So the guy's going to have to pick off my creatures with 3 of the triggers, meaning that 3 of them will go to my face for 9 damage. I'll still be sitting at 11 life after this, and I'll still have Mutavault, as I was saying. So at the very least, the opponent is going to 1 next turn, and I have a lot of live top decks. I could hit... even just Spreading Seas turns off Valakut and keeps that off of being a threat. But we're not really afraid of Valakut at this point. It's more about if they can get a creature down to block the Mutavault. We can draw counter spells. We can draw Tidebinder Mages to tap down anything that they draw to block. Tricksters, similarly, to tap down their creatures. All right, so we draw a Lord, so Mutavault is 3, and that's GG. As soon as I activated Mutavault, the opponent scooped, and that was an easy 2-0 against Titanshift. Traditionally a pretty tough matchup, but when you've got 4 counterspells in the main deck and 2 extra in the sideboard, it gets substantially easier. I kept a pretty poor hand that game, but as you saw, the opponent had an equally bad hand, and we got there in the end. So currently sitting at 3-0, having beaten 8-Whack, and then Amulet Titan, and now Titanshift. So yeah, things are feeling pretty good. The Deprives have been doing well. Ben's been doing pretty well. Please let me know your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my Patreon page, of course. And tune in for the next round, which will be round 4. I'll see you guys there. Bye.